It's Premier League predictions time, baby! Let's look at the tiers. Relegated, survive, just the golden boring zone. Oh, every Premier League team's dream. Then you get into top half, your Mickey Mouse Europe, Champions League, and obviously your GOAT. And obviously there's what? 2.5 teams that can have a serious go at the GOAT category. Oh, we'll find out, won't we? We'll find out, but let's just get into it. 20th is really, really easy for me in the fact that it's Southampton. Not even close. I think Russell Martin is a honking manager. He's never achieved anything in his managerial career apart from last season. He's had one promotion. I think he's had one top half finish. Good luck with that, lads. He got the Southampton job, and he's had all the previous other jobs that he's had and the upgrades that he's had as he's gone along in his managerial career by playing a certain brand of football that will get you slapped about start to finish in Premier League if you play it with a subpar squad against billion-pound squads, which is what he's going to do at Southampton, and they're going to get dicked, like fully cock-slapped every other week. They're going to get battered numerous occasions. A majority of time, newly promoted teams go down anyway now, don't they, because of how Premier League is and the fact that the money isn't distributed properly. So it is not going to surprise me in the slightest that Southampton get, 25 points, 30 points at a push, but I do not see a world where they stay up. Which leads me to my next relegation team, and it's just proof that Premier League is just so boring. The league is so boring to watch. I've got Leicester to go down. 2 of the newly promoted teams are both going to go back down. I don't even think this is close, which is a sad thing. In other leagues, apart from maybe like Crawley in League One, you're looking at all the leagues and thinking, wow, a lot of these teams, all the teams have almost got a chance. In Premier League, it's just not like that because you're going up against such super teams with a subpar squad. You've got no chance. But the manager situation at Leicester has had no impact at all on my decision. With or without Maresca, they were going to go down. They sold the best player to Chelsea. They're starting on a minus, I think. They're now playing very different, contrasting football to what they've gone up with. Maresca and Steve Cooper play very different football. And also, I think the business is poor. They've bought for 2 after a on loan, which is a very good sign. I like that one. But other than that, they've had a centre-half from Atalanta, I think, and Decordova-Reid from Fulham. As I'm recording this, and that's it. They need another 3 or 4 top quality, serious Premier League standard footballs, at least, to even have a chance at staying up. Never mind actually survive, have a chance, and they're way off it. So, again, no chance either of these two stay up, I don't think. Genuinely no chance. I nominate Leicester as the new Norwich, as a team that's going to go boing, 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 boing. And it's for final relegation spot. A lot of people think it's just going to be a clean sweep, don't they? Majority of people think Ipswich are dead set for 20th, but I disagree with that one, definitely. Whether they go down or not is a different thing. They're definitely going to be in a battle. But I think Ipswich will stay up. And instead, I think Fulham are going to be the one that bite dust this time. They've lost Decordova-Reid to Leicester, like I've just said. Decent squad option. They've lost that centre-half, who's actually really good. I rate that Tosin. I can't say his last name, though. Him that's gone to Chelsea on a free. I really like him. I think he's a good player. They've lost him as well. They've lost the best player by an absolute landslide in Polini to Bayern for a lot of money, and they've done nothing with it. They've done nothing. They've not strengthened the squad. They've got considerably worse. They never really finished season anyway, so I'm not really taking form into account with Fulham. But I think with the bottom teams being a lot stronger this time, because obviously the 2 at 3 last year were an absolute joke. The bottom being stronger, I think Fulham, without proper serious investment, which they haven't done, and losing the best players, are going to go down. You can't get away with trying to make profit in this league. Unless you're a freak example like Brighton, you've got to be prepared to lose 50, 100 million quid a year just to stay up. That's just how it goes. So that's my bottom 3 done. Into the just surviving category, I have got Brentford, who I think will be 4th bottom. I feel like last season we saw the run of form that Brentford had without Tony or Mbeumo when they were both either injured or suspended, respectively, because Tony likes a flutter at weekend. They could not buy a point to save their life. And Tony's as good as gone. He's had one foot out at door for years, hasn't he? He's Brentford's best ever player, and he hates him. He literally hates being there. If Mbeumo leaves as well, I think they'll go down, regardless who they bring in. But based on my own thought that Mbeumo might stay, I would have him just surviving. But I still don't think that it's a good year for Brentford, this. Well, it is a good season, isn't it? Because it's a small team that's surviving in Premier League. So it is a good season because anything from 9th to 17th means nothing, realistically. But I do think if it's not next year, next couple, I do think Brentford will be one that eventually gets like shoehorned out to like the mid-table superiors, and they'll get lobbed down, and we'll never see him again probably. Which is sad because I quite like the actual Brentford fans. It's just a shame that the club sold their soul to be a tourist attraction. But anyway, next up in the just surviving category, I've made no secret that I don't like Forest at all. Got no time for Forest at all. But I do think they will have a better season this time, and I feel like they may be changing the recruitment strategy a little bit to not bringing in heaps and bounds of shit. They're actually getting rid of some of the players that they don't actually want. They've still got a squad of 70, but still. They're getting rid of some of the crap, and they're getting good money for them as well. They're actually in profit, as I say this, which is crazy. And that's with fiddling with money as well, because them Newcastle and Everton or Villa, there were a few of them that were fiddling with stuff in it to get around loopholes and FFP and that, and they bought Elliot Anderson from Newcastle for 40 million quid. And they're still in profit for season. I quite like the way that Forest are going, squad-wise, shaping up. Callum Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs White, they've got some very, very good players, some big standouts that a lot of the other teams don't have, apart from Brentford. But yeah, I feel like Forest are probably going to end up being an eventual Palace where they're just constantly in golden boring zone in years to come. But at minute, I feel like they'll take this as well. As long as you stay up, it's happy days in it. But there's still going to be a little bit of a battle, but I think they'll stay up. Now, you probably are wondering where Ipswich are, because I've named 5 teams and a lot of people have got Ipswich 20th. I think they'll stay up. They'll be in the just survive. They're not going to be in golden zone. But I think there's going to be a few teams, as I'm clearly showing you now, that Ipswich are going to finish above. I think they're in really good nick, Ipswich are. For a start, straight off bat, they've got best manager out of everyone down here. I do not care. Marco Silva and Thomas Frank, good managers. I'm not saying they're not good managers. But McKenna, as a gaffer, top half at least. He is serious. Very, very top-end gaffer him. Then as far as the signings go, they've not lost any of the best players. Like a few other teams down here, apart from Forest. You've not lost any of the best players. They're bringing in quality. Just because you've not heard of them, just because they're playing Championship, does not mean that they're not good. Amari Hutchinson is a brilliant signing. Jacob Greaves, I could rave about this bloke until cows come home. Very, very good signings, all of them. And my favourite one, a recent signing that they've made, is Muric, the keeper from Burnley. He was easily Burnley's best player for the few games that he played near end. I don't know why it took so long for him to stick James Trafford out, even though eventually I think James Trafford will be the England number 1. Eventually in years to come. But Muric going in net were 3-4 months too late for Burnley. And they are going to concede a lot of goals. I'm not worried about that at all. I think they might concede probably relegation amount of goals, but they're going to score a lot as well. And McKenna is not too stubborn to change his ways. He altered his football from League One to Championship and got promoted twice. He's very successful regardless of what style of football that he plays. And I think they'll finish above a lot of teams. Clearly, as I'm showing. But yeah, now that that's done, the exciting stuff at bottom, let's just get into the boring fellas. Who else is in here? Wolves, Brighton, there's some of us. West Ham will be in there, and Everton. That's about right. Just 4 fellas that are happy to exist. Brighton are going against the Brighton way, which I feel like is probably about time. They're not going for a strategy where they try and make 100 million quid a year this time. They've spent 90 odd and received nothing so far. Obviously, that could change. But they've also got a manager that's younger than some players. And I feel like, regardless of what a coach is telling you to do, even if he's like, he might tell you to play the best football ever. I feel like from a psychological standpoint, if you're a 30-year-old player, 32-year-old player in that squad, and you've got somebody who had his surprise 30th at Rose and Crown last week, it's just not, I feel like the respect is not maybe going to be there. And I do feel like they are going to struggle more than previous seasons, but they'll still be comfortable and easily as well. Wolves, they just stay up comfortably every time, regardless of what they do. So boring, but that's it. That's literally all I've got to say. In fact, no, that's not all I've got to say, because I'm going to talk about West Ham here as well. How have they stiffed West Ham for 40-something million quid for Kilman? How? He's 27. I am not even saying this. I will try and find the screenshot if I can. The season after Barnsley finished in Championship playoffs, so I'm talking 3 years ago here, we were linked with Max Kilman for like $1 million because he weren't in the plans properly. And now he's gone for 40-something million quid. This league is an absolute scam. It's full of con artists. It's honestly, you know when you see like artists that throw a splash of paint on a piece of canvas and say it's worth 50 million quid? I'm telling you, that's what this league is. But yeah, I'm not keen on the signings, West Ham here, at all. And the fact that they're going to lose Paqueta maybe for a year, maybe forever. I don't fully understand the Paqueta stuff at the minute, but he's the best player and he's not going to be there, effectively. So the squad's going to be worse. Their 11's going to be worse. They're going to have a worse year. They're going to change manager. It's a lot all at once. So I think they are going to drop some positions, but again, they'll just be comfortably safe because what this league is. Extremely boring. And then for Everton, they've lost Onana, which is a big hit. I'm not having Everton fans now coming out and saying, oh, it was shit anyway. He's not. I'm not just saying this like, Onana, I think, especially when I watched Belgium in Euros, his stature and the way he moves is like Pogba. Which might sound crazy, and ability-wise is not even close. But it's just the way I was seeing him do certain things in Euros, and I'm like, wow, he's actually him. He's him. Future-wise, because he's only 22 and he's got the frame to be something obscene, Onana. So, very, very good buy. Not the best sell I've ever seen, but I like that they brought in Njai from Marseille, because at Sheffield United, he was the best player that I've ever seen Sheffield United have in my life. He's the best player that I've ever seen Sheffield United have by a mile. So, good buy if he can get to that sort of player again. Plus, Sean Dyche, national hero, plus Pickford, plus defensively very good, plus Goodison. I feel like Everton are getting back to what Everton were, which is eventually going to be a team that probably sits like between 10th and, well, are they? Because you've got Newcastle and Villa now that are always going to have loads of money. So maybe not, and you've obviously got your top 6. Maybe Everton will be a club that finishes between like 9th and 11th soon, but it's coming. Right, into top halfers, I have got Bournemouth and Palace. I feel like Palace will just miss out on Europe and finish 9th. But Bournemouth, apart from last couple of games, from like January onwards, they seem to be picking up a lot of points. All the team is young. They've got a very, very young core squad. The signings and the recruitment strategy is to buy younguns and develop them and sell them. They're bringing in big names to say what they are, just Bournemouth, a little poxy team. But bringing in that like Milo Kirkses from Alkmaar, Hungarian international, like 21, I think, left back. Serious signings, and the manager as well, he likes to play a certain brand of football. They've got Solanke up front, a certified bagsman that's going to get you at least 15, 16 goals every season easily, apart from other year when that didn't happen. But under this new gaffer, guaranteed goals, man. Come on, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, I think them and Palace are the closest to what is your top. It's a big 8 now. We've gone past it being a top 4 originally when I was growing up, and then it went to a big 6. And now it's a big 8 because you've got Newcastle and Villa thrown in there. They're going to be constantly there. But Palace and Bournemouth, I think, are the 2 challengers to it. Palace especially. I feel like there could be a bit of a gap between Palace and Bournemouth here, but I feel like Palace have got it in them most to maybe try and take that next step. Glasner were a gamble, and he went against the grain of what Palace have gone through managers recently, which is just Roy and then descendants of Roy. Vieira maybe should have been given more time because he looked promising at time. But selling Elise, I don't think is even that big of a deal. I do not think it's that big of a deal. They've still got Eze, they've still got Mateta. They're bringing in like the signings like your Whartons. You've still got your Gurhey. Maybe if he goes, that could change. Who knows? But your Andersons as well. Very good core at squad that are, again, quite young. There's potential there for them to eventually break into something. But it makes a change from me just saying Palace will just finish here. Palace just between, 12th and 15th every year constantly. Just so incredibly boring. I think they've taken that step. And I'm here for it. I want them to do it. I want them to do well. But now that's out of the way, we'll look at as Mickey Mouse Europe as stragglers in 8th. I don't know if 8th even gets it. I think if it works with FA Cup winners and stuff like that, doesn't it? But 8th, I've got Villa. Which, on surface, might seem crazy, but I also said this last season with Newcastle. When you're a team that's just you're winning Champions League with a squad that is not yet fit for the Champions League to balance your other 3 competitions that you're in. You've got a lot more games. It's a lot more taxing when you're flying to different countries on random Wednesday nights. You will struggle. You are going to struggle. Look at Newcastle. I know this is different because Villa have had the warm-up at Conference League. I can see Villa fans commenting it now. You can afford to massively change your team when you're playing Dog and Duck and Bill Bob Stinkledinky from Kyrgyzstan. You can afford to change your teams massively for that. You are going to have to play your strongest 11 every single week and every single game that you're in Champions League and Premier League at the same time. And you just cannot do it. You'll get shattered. Look at Newcastle. It's the best case study there is. And this is still a good year. 8th, Villa, it'd still be a good year. If they can snag conference again and just keep adding their additions like they are doing, like your Onanas, your Ian Matsons, your Jaden Philogines and Cameron Archers, who were both ex-Villa players anyway. But the signings of Matson and Onana especially are top-end, serious top-end quality players. And if you keep adding if you go for 2, 3, 4 really, really good signings like this a year, you'll be able to sustain being in there. So if they finish here and then get Conference League again, I won't be surprised if they go and get it Champions League again. But for this season, just with the added stress and the fatigue and the travelling that comes with playing at Champions League, the biggest that there is, I think they are going to take a hit positional-wise. Plus, some of the Big 6 and Newcastle from last year were so honkingly arse that it obviously gave Villa a bit of a platform to take that spot. This time, I don't think it'll be the case. But, saying that, I think Man United will finish 7th. The signings that they made, I'm actually quite impressed with that. That Euro looks the bollocks. I'm not going to pretend I watch Lille or French League. I'm just going off what my trusted, reliable sources whose opinion I value are saying, which is that is apparently the real deal. So I'll take the word for that. Xerxes as well. I've watched vague bits of him. He looks all right as well. But I'm not overly impressed by Erik ten Hag's recruitment strategy previously. A lot of the signings that he brought in have been shit, so that won't surprise me. It was Man United's worst finish in Premier League history, and they gave him a new contract just because he won FA Cup. But overall, it's crap football with a shit manager. And adding a child at centre-back and a new rotational striker with Højlund, is that going to make him that much better? No. Best thing about Man United this window is that they got rid of Mason Greenwood. Because if I said what I actually thought about this guy and what should happen to him, then I'd have FBI outside my house. What an absolute dog. Thank he's never setting foot in this country again. But yeah, I still think Man United are way off it. And in sixth, just missing out on Champions League because I think it's 5 for Champions League now, but definitely getting Europe this time. I think it'll be Newcastle. Again, like I said with the Villa thing, Newcastle was so bad last season because the squad just is not up to scratch to play the extra games. Plus, they had Tonali robbed off them halfway through the season. They've not lit world on fire, really, transfer-wise. I like the permanent signing of Lewis Hall. I like Lloyd Kelly on a free from Bournemouth, and they've got a new keeper. Fair enough. 3 good signings, but they've not brought any like superstars in. As long as they keep the Isaacs, Gordons, Bruno Guimaraes, your boys like that, they'll be up and around here, definitely. No extra games in Europe, no stress, no travelling, no fatigue. You look at the couple seasons ago when they actually got in Champions League to start with, and they had none of them things. I think it's set up for them to just leapfrog back over Villa and Man United again. Which means I've got my top 5, which is Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City and Tottenham, who I think will all end up in Champions League if it works like that. But if it don't work like that and someone isn't to get in, someone in 5th is not to get in and they end up in Europa League instead, I think that will be Chelsea. It's a good squad. There's still way too many players in it. They could have a Z team that could probably stay up in Premier League. They've got too many players. The changing room needs doubling in size. But they're 11, and as you see, at the end of last season, the form table, I think Chelsea were top for like last 5 games. Chelsea won the last 5. Only Man City and Arsenal had more, or equal. Obviously, you can't have more than 5 wins in 5, whatever. But they've got some serious standout players. We've seen Palmer, you know what I mean? Enzo, if he can play anymore after singing that song, I don't even know. But they've got some serious players, you know what I mean? We've barely scratched surface to see what Nkunku can do yet. And if they'd have brought in a better manager than Maresca, which I don't think is very hard, because again, I do not rate him that much, I'd have had him definite top 4. But because of the manager I'm not convinced on, I would have him 5th. But I still think that's a good year and still Chelsea can sort themselves out because it's still just a complete mess. Tottenham in 4th and Liverpool in 3rd. There's only 2 teams that can go for title here. But Tottenham in 4th, I was impressed with Tottenham. They definitely burnt out as the season went on and they didn't really have it in them to carry on all the way. But some of the players that they've got are just ridiculous. Once Ange gets another grip on them, you bring in a couple of players that they've got and they are going to improve. Archie Gray, I think, is a solid signing. Whether he starts at right back or centre mid, who knows. But I don't think they pay 40 million quid for somebody to not play him. You know what I mean? I think Ange can really get something out of him because he's a future England player again. They do need a couple of signings still, definitely, if they want to challenge for anything ever. And it's going to be another season where it's success in it because they finished top 4, but they'll not win out. So it's just very Tottenham. And then with Liverpool, they've not done anything. They've done nothing. I'm looking at the transfers. They've done nothing. They've brought in no one. They've got rid of Matip and Thiago's retired. That's it. They've done nothing. They've got a new manager who is going to play a different style of football. Even if it is similar to Klopp, it's still going to be tweaked in different ways. He's got to get the respect of a squad that the core of it has had their entire career under Klopp. So there's potential for him to start quite slowly, but then again, the fixtures are very favourable at start, so we could see him top of league after 10 games. But I think just because they've not done anything really, and it's a big shifting culture and that with Klopp, like I've just said, they're not going to challenge for the title, but they should be comfortable top 4. And then for the 2-horse race for 3rd time in a row, I think Arsenal will win league. Maybe it's more hope than think because I'm fed up at Man City. I'm so bored. It's just shit. You know what I mean? And I am John Stones' dad. But I just cannot get behind this anymore. It's so boring. I want Man City to lose. Do you know what I mean? I want someone else to win, and the most likely one for that to happen is Arsenal, so I'm just backing them. City have brought in Savinho from Troyes, one of the partner clubs. It's all just a complete shit show with that. And Arsenal have, again, done nothing. Like, none of them are doing anything. I don't know what's happening, but it's just so ass. It's same teams with same squads doing same things every year. Yeah, fun. Obviously, Man City have got the know-how and the experience to get certain games off at line. But if Arsenal had won one at games when they'd lost at home to Villa, do you know what I mean? A game that this season I don't think they will lose again, then they've got it in them to go and win. And I think they will. I believe in them. They're going to need 90, 91, 92 at least. But I think they can do it. But yeah, that's all I've got. To be quite honest with you, I don't think I'm going to watch that much Premier League this season. If there's a chance where it's Premier League and Championship on at the same time, especially with Sky's new deal with EFL, I'm going to watch Championship. Because there's only so many times I can watch West Ham and Wolves, but it's same team, draw 0-0. You know what I mean? I just feel sick this league. But thank you all for watching. Make sure you subbed, because you do not want to miss the other predictions that I've got coming out. I think this is the second one if I'm posting this. As you see this, I'm actually in Zante, probably upside down, getting beer through my nose. But yeah, make sure you sub. Love you all. Make sure you like the video as well, and I will see you later, boys.